Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the After Hours Gaming League Season 3. We're into week number 4, I should say. It's been a pretty quick series of weeks of games. Of course, if you saw last week, there was a fantastic set that I had the pleasure of casting. Make sure you go and check that out. That was actually one of the best sets I've ever done, especially game number 3. If you want to see a fantastic Terran versus Zerg that does go on for quite a while, but it was still very cool, then go and check that one out. That you can find all the videos over at AfterHoursGaming.tv, of course. But yeah, here this week, we're going to have a very interesting set. Both of these teams, of course, wanting to do their best, and it'll be interesting to see who is able to take this one. We're going to have a TVZ on Daybreak, of course, starting up at the top right-hand side as our blue Terran player. He's playing for the company Storm, or the team Storm8. It is Uberdubbing. And his opponent down at the bottom left-hand side is our Red Zerg player playing for Team Epic, who have been undefeated so far in this season. It is USKC. There you go. There's some fancy GSL intros for you here today. That's how I do when I have my coffee, like just before I start casting, as it is early morning here in ye olde Australia. Yeah, as I said, very interesting set. It looks like it's going to be because we've got, well, firstly, these two players starting up right here are actually both undefeated for this season. So it'll be very interesting to see who is the one who is going to first take a loss in this season of the AHGL. Just we can see there the little hidden barracks, which is nicely done by Uberdubbing, just throwing his opponent off a little bit. Of course, USKC will be thinking, what's going on here? Is it a quick CC, or is he proxying some stuff? Because I'm getting a little bit worried now. But he is still going to be able to expand pretty quickly. So Epic are actually, as I said, undefeated for this season so far, and as are both of these players. Meanwhile, for Storm8, of course, Uberdubbing will be looking to get his team a good start here. Unfortunately, they've only gone 1-2 for the first 3 weeks, so Storm8 will be definitely looking to pull out some big hits here, and maybe they'll be able to take down one of the division leaders in the B division, I believe this is. Of course, there's 2 divisions in the A league of the AHGL, and of course, you know, we've got Microsoft up the top in the A division, and then we've got Epic are up the top, I believe, in their division as well. So it will be a little bit of a battle here, especially between these two titans. We'll see how they go. As we can see, it looks like we will get just a little Macarax there from Uberdubbing, just throwing his opponent off a little bit, but not really too much. It looks as if USKC is not really concerned about any sort of proxy attacks. Just going to go ahead and get his expansion pretty quickly. Of course, we've got Gas coming up reasonably fast as well, although he has started a spine crawler inside the main, perhaps fearing something. Of course, what you can do is move that down towards the natural if you so desire. But I think that what we will see from USKC here is just some quick speed to make sure he has map control on the off chance that there was something a little bit annoying coming about. But I think with the side of the Gas there, he should be fine, in the knowledge that he should be quite safe right as of now. Yeah, of course, just a little bit on these two companies. Of course, Storm8 is a company heavily vested in the social media gaming scene. They're actually one of the top iOS and Android developers for social games. So you never know. You may have been playing some of their content before and you didn't even know it, or maybe you did, and you know, you guys can tell me more about it. But yeah, so they've been doing a lot of work in that. Meanwhile, of course, for Epic, they are a Epic Systems, I believe, is like the full term for the company. They're actually involved in the health software industry, sort of you know, looking after systems to help clinical work with doctors, and of course for patient data and this kind of stuff. So it's good to see them helping out in that way. Of course, both the teams will be, all of the teams, in fact, in the AHGL Season 3 are actually playing with the intent of sort of like, I suppose, prize money is going to be going towards a charity of their choice. For Storm8, their charity of choice is Child's Play, and for Epic, their charity of choice is Doctors Without Borders. So it'll be good to see, and it looks as if we'll have an interesting start here from USKC. He's gone for that quick speed, as we mentioned. That's about to finish up right about now, and he's going to go for a quick attack with some Lings, looking for this very what is, I don't want to say it's become standard, because it's still something that is just thrown out from time to time, but players that get very quick Hellion, Ling speed out and then go for a quick attack with around about 12 to sort of anywhere between 10 to sort of 18 Lings. It's something that does come about from time to time, of course, with the advent of Startail's Life doing this kind of strategy, just catching a lot of Terran players off guard. And because normally when you're going to be walling off as a Terran player, you know, you tend to not actually have your bunker in this sort of position anymore. A lot of players will put it up here where we can see that Uber has put it, and as we can see here, you actually only have a couple of Marines right at the start, and this kind of attack is actually intended to catch a Terran out when they only have a couple of Hellions and maybe 1 or 2 Marines. Other than that, it's not going to get a huge amount of damage done. Now, of course, this does put a little bit of a little crimp there in the production of the drones. Of course, as we can see, our Zerg player USKC has actually only just caught up with his Terran opponent in the work account, and in fact will be dropping it down a little bit now that he has to pick up some gas. He's also got double evo chambers going along with a lair getting started up now while he takes the third. So looks as if we will have just a very sort of passive start to the game at the moment. Uber getting out a very quick Thor. It's interesting to see that come about. He's also getting a second one very soon. This could in fact be a little bit of a style we see from time to time called the, well, in GSL they call it the Khan build, because the foreign player Khan was one of the players who first sort of started using this type of build. Now what you want to do is get out some Thors. You get an upgrade if you can on those mechanized units, such as the vehicle plating, or perhaps even weapons if you want. It sort of depends on what your opponent is going for. Most people will get the vehicle plating because, of course, that helps Thors defend much better against Lings. So, you know, we may see that push come about here. The thing about this particular push, especially in Heart of the Swarm, is that once the armory is built, of course, you have access to the Hellbats, which are just absolutely magnificent at defending against things like Zerglings. Of course, Hellbats, when they're in their little transformer mode, and they are as Hellbats, they actually get 30 damage against light, which means they actually just will destroy Zerglings. Of course, those units have only 35 HP, so it'll be interesting to see what comes about here from Uber. He does have 3 Thors already out, a 4th and a 5th is already on the way. His +1 to vehicle armor is already done. I don't think he's looking to do the push. I'm not sure. Like, normally at this point, okay, he is going to. We're going to send out a couple of SCVs. We've also got 8 Marines here as well, of course. Keep in mind, the Marines do not have any upgrades as of yet, but with a lot of SCVs coming along, it's a bit of a choo-choo train here from Uber. The Ling will spot what's coming about, and it looks like a small group of Zerglings are going to sweep by through the southern portion of the map and then come through into the main base. Will they be able to get inside? It looks as if Uber is completely not prepared for this. In fact, this Thor is completely unprepared. Finally does get back, closes the door. The Lings will come along and try and get a little bit of a surround here. Now, Uber is going to lose some of his SCVs here, already losing quite a few. 10 have gone down. That's going to creep up quite a lot more, but meanwhile, the attack is still pushing across the map here. Of course, with that +1 on the armor, these Thors are going to be quite tanky. Of course, they've got 2 armor there. Meanwhile, the Lings are still continuing to attack this front door, and Uber is going to lose his Hellion production here, and I think these first 2 Hellions, in fact only 1 Hellion, is not going to really get too much damage done, but the push now from Uber is finally reaching its peak, and he's come across with all these Thors. The SCVs here to repair as well. Drones coming out, and a lot of banelings have been made by, wow, jeez, USKMC coming out with an ST-style banelings and just saying, you know what, I do not care that those are Thors, we're just going to bust through them anyway. And a couple of Hellions do come about to try and protect the Thors against all these Lings that are here, but I mean, with so many losses on both sides, it has been a very, very aggressive start to the game. Of course, we can see now that, well, is that... Okay, that's a little bit interesting. I was about to say, what's that Overlord without speed gonna do with Ventral Sacks? That's a little bit odd. But let's check out the worker kill tally. We've got 29 kills by Uber, so he's done a fairly decent job across at his opponent's side of the field. Meanwhile, for as we can see, USKMC has done his own good job there with 34 kills in total. Now, we'll probably stabilize for the moment. I don't think these guys are going to sort of switch in and continue to be too aggressive. Of course, as we can see, USKMC has got a lot of Lings out, and he's just going to try and come across here and get some good damage done. But I mean, with the Hellbats there, I doubt this is going to do too much. As you can see, Hellbats just roasting up all of those Lings there, and that attack is quickly thwarted. So just a little bit of pressure there, just to try and keep Uberdubbing on his toes. You don't want to be just sitting around just trying to resupply with the mech army just completely freely, because of course that might turn into something a little bit ugly for the Zerg player a little bit later on. But USKC, he's got his own drone count just boosting back up. The total is now at 60, so he's doing a very good job. He's just got a whole bunch of drones now transferring across to the third. But of course, with 3 bases up, he's going to be sitting very happy right about now. Of course, after all those losses, it's perhaps not the best sort of feeling you want to have as a Zerg player, but Uberdubbing is going to have to do a little bit of catching up right now. Sitting at 37 workers, he's got some Hellions out. We got a couple of Widowmites now moving across the map, and one of them has just waltzed its way across the map, has now dug itself inside the third base here, and this is going to provide a lot of coverage. Of course, this means that there will be no ability to drone at sort of any of this area here, because the Widowmine will absolutely annihilate them. So that'll put, again, just a little bit of a hold on the mining for USKC for the moment. Of course, we can see him back at home. We can see Uberdubbing just continuing to pump out all of those Hellbats there. We're starting to get a few tanks as well. Keep in mind, the tanks do not need to research siege mode anymore. There's no need to do any of that. And it looks like the Lings did get a bit of a cleanup going on that one Widowmine that was there, and the drones will be free to transfer back. So things, as I said, still just sort of being very stable right now. We're not really going for any sort of crazy attacks or anything like that. At home for USKC, he's got his tech going. Baling Speed is on the way, along with the Hydrodenic Groove Spines, along with +2 to melee and +2 to Carapace as well. His Spire is prepared, so he certainly could get, you know, perhaps a few mutas out on the map. But I think with his main composition, we're going to look to something perhaps along the lines of Hydras, maybe even adding in some Roaches as well, because he may want to have that tanky force right at the front. But as we can see, looks like a medevac going to come through, dropping in some Hellbats there. Nice retreat with most of the drones by USKC there. Uberdubbing getting inside, and he's just going to burn down that Spore Crawler. That's actually an interesting thing about the Hellbats there. With their extra little bit of damage, of course, they do 18 damage in total, and of course that 30 to light units. This means that they can actually get in and do quite a little bit of damage, even against units that aren't light. But here we go. The Hellions and, well, the Hellbats just absolutely annihilating a line of drones, along with some Lings there as well. That is kind of the best way to barbecue them up, is to just line them up and have a field day with that. But Hydras, and along with a couple of Queens, are able to clean up that attack for the time being. So USKC does lose a few of his drones. It's not a huge amount, but I mean, the worker kill tally is sitting relatively even for the moment. But of course, the actual worker tally itself is still pretty much, well, reasonably in favor of USKC. But I don't think that's going to work out too well for him very soon, because we do have Uberdubbing taking his third base. We've now got some Roaches pushing across the map. They've almost got their muscular augmentations along. In fact, that's done right as of now. So as you can see, much speedier than they were before. So they're going to come about and try and defend against some of these Hellions that are now roaming across the map. There is no blue flame at the moment for Uberdubbing, so he won't be able to totally annihilate this drone line, nor the Roaches, the Hydras themselves. But he puts a little bit of pressure on and says, you know what, you're not free to drone up either. So we will have this game continue on for quite a bit now. With this, well, you know, it's pretty much a mech army. Of course, if you want to get technical, the Hellbats are also biological. It'll be interesting to see if our Terran player Uberdubbing throws in a few medevacs. Maybe I have seen some players throw in the odd medevac or two, just to help with regenerating the health on the Hellbats, as that can really help in keeping their longevity up. But he has now taken his third base, just populating that quite nicely. In fact, as you can see, thanks to the counter there, straight up to 22 or 24 workers on that base. So things looking very good right now for Uberdubbing. He's going to be quite happy with the position that he is in. The supply count, relatively even. We've got our Terran player now starting to really creep up in the supply count. Of course, a mech army trades extremely efficiently, but we will have another attack coming in from USKC, dropping in some Hydras inside the main base. It's a small squadron of Hydras, but it will do a lot of damage. They've got 2-1 on their upgrades right now, going to take care of that starport. Of course, they have removed all the SCVs from mining, and a couple of Hellions will come about, but not really getting too much damage done there. Looks like there will be a counterattack down at the southern portion of the map. Planetary Fortress going to need to be repaired as quickly as possible. The Hydra's doing insane amounts of damage, and Ubadami a little bit slow to react there. Loses both his extended base that he was going to get started on, and also the planetary as well. But inside the main of Ubadami, we've got, of USKC, we've got a double Hellbound drop here, and that has absolutely annihilated some of the defenses that were there. Now it looks like the Hydra's going to try and push back against a big group of tanks. The tanks, of course, do have 2 on their vehicle weapons, but on their vehicle armor, but without any upgrades on their weapons, they are going to lose quite a few to the Hydras with their decent upgrades themselves. But it looks like their Hellbats have finally met their maker with some Hydras inside the main base and the natural of USKC. He's finally able to deflect that attack. So his Hydra attack inside the main got a little bit of damage done, took care of a command center that was in there as well, and it also gave him space to clear out the third base of Ubadami. So things are still relatively even in terms of the actual supply count, but I think that Ubadami, yep, he's going to have a big push with a lot of tanks. The question is, will he have enough to actually deflect all of these Hydras that are now moving into position here? They have actually just pushed straight up, and the tanks have run into a little bit of a harder place there, but they finally siege up. Looks like he will be able to dispose of most of these Hydras. Very nicely done by Ubadami. With that, with the 2-1 upgrades now done for these tanks, they are able to absolutely squash all of the Hydras that tried to push across through the top section of the map. So it looks like Ubadami wants to try and counter. Where is he going to go for it? Looks as if he's going to try and push in towards the third base of USKC. Will he be able to get any damage done? I'm not sure, but what he does get done is just a quick kill on 2 of those infestors that were there, and sieging up in the middle, he will be able to clear out a couple of these Hydras. I love that ragdoll physics change there that makes them do this hilarious explosion when they die, but still, the economy of both of these players is starting, well, at least for Ubadami, it's starting to dwindle a little bit. We've got his worker count currently at 58. He's currently not doing too much mining right as of now, only around about 400 minerals, whereas our Zerg player from Epic, USKC, he is still sitting quite pretty right now, but he is losing his 4th base. We'll see how much of an impact this has in just a moment. Of course, a few mutas have now started to pop out for USKC, so he's going to switch it up while sending across a large attack force. He's got a lot of infestors now just moving their way across the map, unfortunately moving straight into a pack of Hellions, and of course a couple of tanks there as well. So loses his 4th base, but will be pushing into the natural of his Terran opponent. As we can see, we've now got these tanks, the Thors, and a couple of Hellions now pushing across the map. They are going to be able to get a bit of damage done, considering this is completely unprotected, but back at home it is natural. Hydra's now pushing in infested Terrans, Lings sweeping through. It looks like USKC is going to have the upper hand here. He's finally just reduced the mining to a very minimal third base, but is he going to be able to hold this? Lings have now come across, and now as we can see, Ubadami is getting his own damage done. He is able to clean out the third. So now, as we can see, we've got USKC down to a total of 27 drones right now, but the SCV count has been reduced in its own way as well. Now down to 16, 15, continuing to fall. USKC, he may be able to take this. I think he is, in fact, yeah, he is definitely going to be able to take this. The production facilities of Ubadami have been reduced to a pile of ashes inside the main base, and while he does have a nice attack force that is trying to continue across the map, unfortunately with mutas in the sky and no more support from back home, Ubadami does fall to Epic's USKC in game number 1. So what a crazy intense game that started off very passive, and then just like at the push of a button it just went absolutely nuts. So very cool game from both these two players. We'll go into game number 2 in just a moment. I believe it is on Acheron Wastes, and I'll see you there in just a moment.